We're now ready to start drawing the walls in. So I'm going to head up into the Architecture tab and to the Walls. Note I don't need to go to the Wall drop down, and the shortcut key for that is WA if you prefer. Before I start drawing, I'm going to choose the wall that we're using, and then you can see that there's already one generated. I'm going to choose the Brick Veneer 250 Timber. So I'm just going to pop into this, the edit properties of this, just so we can have a feel for what it is we're using. Alright, I've just selected the preview so that I get a little floor plan section view of what I'm creating. So if I go into edit structure here, you can see that what we've got are 3 layers for this wall. So it's already been generated, don't need to change anything, but we will be doing some editing of properties later, and it's important that we understand what's going on. So layer 1, you can see if I highlight it, so I'm just going to change this to section, it'll give us a better, I'm going to zoom right in on that. Right, so this is it in elevational section. Layer 1, layer 2, and layer 5. Now the core boundary, layer 4, the core boundaries here, can you see there the lines going blue? Anything that lives within this core boundary, think of this as like a set of brackets, is how we tell Revit that that's the structural element for this wall. Anything outside, you can see this is our exterior side, this is our interior side. So on the outside we've got our veneer of brick, that's why it's called a brick veneer, and it is non-structural. Then we've got an air gap of 50 mil, and then our structural element to the wall is our timber. So that's how this particular wall is made up. So I'm just going to hit OK and OK. I'm going to come up to my options bar. I'm going to make sure that I check that the height is going up to level 1, or whatever the level above is. This means that the height of the wall gets decided by the level, and we can adjust and edit that wall at any time. Now for this instance, I'm going to make my location line finish face exterior. That's because we're going to be tracing along these red external lines, or these perimeter lines, and if we do that in a clockwise direction, right, notice as I hover over the intersection of these 2 reference planes, I get a little intersection symbol appearing, and it's simply a matter of drawing to these snap points. They call them snap points. You'll see that there's horizontal, midpoint, perpendicular as we move around. Now this doesn't look anything like what we just had a look at in the section. That's because we're set to coarse scale. So down here in our drawing status bar, we'll leave it at 1 to 100. We set our scale in this drawing. However, I'm going to come down and click here to the detail level, and I'm going to change it to medium. And just notice what happens. Okay, so we can now see a lot more information. The hatch pattern already built into the brickwork. We've got then, we can see the inside stud wall. Note we haven't added a layer for our plasterboard of 10 mil, and that's because when we dimension our floor plan, we want to dimension to the stud framing, which is the structural element. Notice up here, the 1 to 100, so down here we've got 1 to 100, up here in the properties of the view, so the properties of the view occur, I'm going to hit escape a few times, every time I don't have anything selected. So the view scale is there, and it's there. The detail level of medium is up here, and it's also down here. So there's a number of places that we can input the same information. I drew in a clockwise direction, and that way the outside wall always stays out. So you can see if I select this wall, these flip arrows here, which you'll see on windows, doors, walls, the roof, these flip arrows are always on the outside. So we need to make sure that's fine. And if that wasn't the case, I would flip it. Notice because I drew on finish face exterior, that it is now flipping about this red line. So it's important just to be aware of all of these things. There's no right or wrong. It's just important to remember that when you're trying to edit something later on. If you do need to flip it, it may change the overall dimension. Now, if for some reason when you have a look at your drawing, you realise that your walls are higher and not attaching to level 1, okay, it's because you haven't checked the connect, the top constraint to go up to level 1, but it doesn't mean that we can't deal with that afterwards. It's quite an easy process. It's just easier to do it before you start drawing. So can you see I'm in any one of my elevations, and I'm going to use a crossing window, so that means I'm starting over here, I'm not in any command, I'm in the blank part of the screen. I'm going to click, I'm holding down the left button of my mouse to select these walls, and I probably haven't got all of them, and no I haven't, because you can see that's blue. So I'm going to hold down my control key, notice the little plus symbol there, and I'm going to finish selecting it. And there we go. Now another way of selecting is to select one of the walls. I can right click on my mouse and I can go select all instances in entire project. So there's a number of ways of selecting items, and they're all designed so that they're as efficient as possible. So over here in the properties of this basic wall, if I change this from unconnected to level 1, you can see that our wall now belongs to level 1, and whatever height I decide to make level 1, the walls will go with it. So let's do that now. I'm in an elevation, I could be in a section, it doesn't matter which one I'm in. I'll just go back to this one. So if I click on level 1, you can see that it goes blue, which means I can edit it. Notice this little button here, that's the one that actually toggles whether I see it or not. I'm going to click on the height, and the height for this project is 2740. The height of our ceiling, which is 2700, plus 40 mil for the thickness of the top plate. We'll discuss why we're doing that later. And while I'm at it, I might as well rename this level. So select once to make it blue. Now I select on the word. I won't make it ceiling level, I'll make it top plate, just so we know what it is that we've predefined there.